My guest for the morning, Dr. Nana Ayiwe-Friye, is a member of parliament for Ifiduasia Sokore. Thanks for joining me, Doc.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
It's really been a while.
Yeah, I see you far off, but we haven't interacted in quite a while. And well, we used to do some things together.
You see, right.
Some underground
You
things
see.
more. All right, so we have Abdulaziz, who is also a member of parliament from Myong. He was here last week, and thanks for joining me, Abdul.
Thank you.
Yeah, great contributions from you last week, and I know that I'm going to enjoy the conversations between you two. But now let's look at an overview perspective. I'll start with Dr. Friye, the subject of the president interacting with leading presenters, leading news editors and journalists of our country. What do you make of first the interaction and then your own just overview? Just some brief comments.
Yeah, very good morning to your listeners. And I think the president was very candid, absolutely honest about things in office, admitted that there are challenges. And then he also had to reiterate some policies in the pipeline and some achievements in terms of macroeconomic indicators over the short period. And for me, it was reassuring, and that's what we need from a president, where the encounter will come to reassure a lot of Ghanaians to have absolutely the direction or the footing, which direction that we headed to. And so for me, I thought the interaction was good. And I will score the president 9 out of 10 for the first 6 months. He's focused on organizational strategy. They said if you want to move any system forward in corporate governance or any direction, you need to first look at organizational structuring before you look at the operational aspect. And that is where policy is you recorrect, you redirect, you align to your vision. And then we say in public policy, which of course is also my background, that transformation of policy is within a year. So you first of all would have to find the situation analysis, attempt to put it on the paper, and then let us see implementation. And even when you have been able to see implementation, transformation of policy is not less than 1 year. So I am thinking that by the time he meets the media, in about a year from now, he'll be talking about this is done, this is ongoing, this is done, this is ongoing, which will be so different from what we're going to do and what is going to happen. Yeah.
So that's where the criticism comes in, more like intentions than what has been achieved. So was it necessary at all? But your overview first.
My overview is that what President Nana did is in line with good governance. It is a practice not contemplated by the Constitution or any law. But I'm sure that since 2001, when President Kufuor assumed the reins of governance with Kwabena Agyapong, the embattled General Secretary of the NPP today, was then the spokesperson. This novelty was carved out. Successive presidents have sought to continue with it, but in different fashions and styles. And so I think what the president did is in line with good governance, to engage with the media, and for that matter, the public, to share with them some of your what you have achieved so far and what you intend to do. And so on that note, I would salute the president on that. My only worry has to do with the timing, because if you remember, just about some 2-3 months ago, the Vice President, Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, engaged the media to talk about some of the achievements that they had achieved within their first 100 days in government. And that was basically to reiterate their policy proposal that were captured in their manifesto. You know, and so I thought that some 2-3 months down the lane, the president could have waited at least for the year to end, because that has been the regular practice, that president would do that at the end of the year. What prompted the president to do what he did half year, I don't know, but I don't think it is a good strategy. It will lose the value if he was to be doing that every 6 months, like he indicated. He said he would be doing that every 6 months. At least that would debase the value that the Ghanaian public, or the premium that we have placed on that novelty. Well, speaking to some of the issues that were raised, I don't know who advised the president, who wrote his script, but I must admit that my brother and friend rated the president some 90%, 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think I heard Mustafa Hamid say government was not going to engage in self-glorification and awarding themselves marks. But you see, to talk of Asempa budget, that budget that they refer to as Asempa budget, we have told Ghanaians repeatedly that it was nothing but matricule budgets, you know. Matricule. You know, when you trick someone into doing what ordinarily he
so
wouldn't
in
do.
local parlance, matricule.
Matricule, no Asempa. What is so good about this budget that was presented to us in the by the finance minister? The president talked about some support that they are extending to private sector, businesses that are in some form of distress. Well, it's just a continuation of what President Mahama and the NDC did. I know, for instance, that under the leadership of the current minority leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, some 15 million Ghana cedis was extended to the pharmaceuticals industry. And so it is not something new. Even this one that the president has captured as a support still remains an intention. They have not committed even a cedi to support any local entrepreneur. And so it remains an intention and not a fulfilled achievement. Talking about one dam, one village, you see the heading. That's what I was saying. I don't know who wrote the script. One dam, one village. That's the heading. And you dedicate only just one line. And the rest of that whole paragraph talks about the planting for food and jobs and one district, one factory. How does that fit into one dam, one village, one district, one factory, now coming under the heading of one dam, one village? I mean, this is my first time. I haven't seen the document. I just saw it some 5 minutes back. He talked about his fight against galamsey. We are with him in that respect, except to say that the fight seemed to have gone down. Why we are unable to tell, they seem to be lacking the political will. Creation of new regions.
All right, we'll come to them.
Are we going into all of it now?
Well, I was just looking at
then you are dead then.
We'll come to that, but generally, Dr. Free, we know that the benchmark for which Ghanaians voted in the last presidential elections was on mainly governance, in which we'll have to translate that into perception about corruption, and then also the benchmark of how well the economy was doing or not. And so an Akufo-Addo-led government is expected to make the economy get to the next gear and also catapult it to the next level. Would you say 6 months down the line, we're in a certain position for which we can be proud of and say that if we have to benchmark that over the last year, we've done so well?
Yes, I would say so. I would say so in that, first of all, the direction of leadership, the confidence in leadership, an exemplary life of the leader, it has to transform into the deeds of all his appointees. It is so clear that the president, whatever that he had always said in the past, he stands by them, that he cannot be corrupted and he's not corrupt. And it would be indicated so much by the presence of the special prosecutor. And that is not to say that any MPP minister or official and other persons working, any Ghanaian working in any governmental agency, you will be spared if you also have to imbibe or repeat same habit. And so it's something that is there for yesterday and for today, because the country has been caused a harm. And that is what you said. The election was premised upon corruption, economic management, and then unemployment, and then poor infrastructure in terms of health as well, and stuff like that. These were probably the main areas. So the president has brought this bill that is going to make an inquiry into what happened in the past, the ballooned loans with less capital investment. So we need to look for it. the target is not supposed to be the politicians. In the middle of these harms are caused by the very public officials, where you put the Ghanaian everywhere. So some people think it's going to be targeted at the politician. In fact, you might not even have any politician in it. It is the same Ghanaians who have caused a mess. So I think that commitment, that is not only going to be the issue of the past, but today and tomorrow, is going to actually put a lot of people in shape and absolutely in line. I think that for the past 6 months, where you look at Dr. Dufour's budget, and the theme of his budget in 2009 is growth and macroeconomic stability. It is the same as we're doing now. You can never grow if you don't have a stabilized economic environment. And that is what we're talking about, the various indicators which has dropped. We're looking about the fact that the policy rate is dropped from about 25 point something to 22. It sends signals to the business community and also to the commercial banks about freeing up of resources for private investment. It talks about the treasury bills rate dropping from about 20-something to about 11-point-something%. It tells you that it discourages you putting your money to lock it, but then it tells you that commercial banks are willing to drop their interest rate and the willingness for it to be given out for private investment. These are positive strides. You talk about inflation dropping from between about 15.7 to an all-time low in 4 years, for the past 4 years, so about 12.1. And you are telling me that this is not an achievement. However, you cannot have, like I said, the transformation effect of policy in 2-3 months. This is clear for your policy experts to call in and then tell us that you should first attempt to put the figures in the right perspective. And the transformational effect is judged by the people within a year, where they say that, oh, over the year, the persistent increase in the price level of goods and services have not been up. It's just been relatively same. You understand? So they appreciate it over the period, but not within the 2-3 months that it's been achieved. And these are things that say that when you benchmark this to the previous year, then these are positive achievements of a governance in the right direction. Now, the innovation that the president is bringing on board, and that is supposed to transform to create jobs. His emphasis is always on youth, jobs, jobs, jobs. And this is clear. In a Nobel laureate, Louis, his theory of economic development. And what is economic development? It is growth, transformation, and then equity. You understand? So his theory was that you can move a developing country to an emerging or a developed country when you go to the basics. And the basics is move to where the resources are, focus on agric, transform the system through agriculture, and then those who are supposed to use the raw materials will use what we call the potter's forces. They will backward integrate and get closer to where the resources are and process them. So you look at the president's, you situate his vision of one district, one factory, the dams in the northern regions. I mean, you're talking about dams, the plains, where the plains are, the Afran plains and those areas that need dams, the northern regions. They have vast lands, clay plain, and then you are going to have dams there to boost agricultural development. So it is for people to understand the economic theory. It is for people to read basically the classical theory, where you look at the development of the Malaysians, the Southeast Asian tigers. They used Louis's model. They went to take the man and put him in their place. That what you took the price for, transform it, and it worked. You can never move up when you don't go to your basics without using the Louis's model. And that is what you're talking about, the agriculture, the planting, the one district, one factory. It is theory-based, and it worked. So, for those who doubt, I have a clear understanding with what I have seen and what I have read, that the president's vision is absolutely in line. It is different from business as usual from the previous regime. It was business as usual. Under Nana, the president, you cannot be wayward. He will put you to check. Regardless of whether you are his family, you are his daughter, if he's appointed you, I know the man Nana, he's so generous. But in terms of giving you the task, he deals with you. After which he's so ordinary. And that is who the president is. And I know his appointees are in check. Let any one of them who think is greater than the law deviate, and you will see the way he will be dealt with. Absolutely. That will was not even there as a benchmark under the previous regime, and that collapsed governance.
I don't know.
The indicators of this are best to see. Watch two regimes where you see the donor society, the donor group,
that's
the community.
The donor community.
Look at the way they posit themselves, and they are posturing to one regime and the other. Look, they are connoisseurs of good governance, anti-corruption, respect for rule of law, security, stability, economy. They are the connoisseurs. It was in the Guardian of UK 2 years ago. And you can go and check. They say, why do you use our taxpayers' money to go to Ghana? When there is a canker of corruption and ghost names over there. And see the willingness of them to collaborate with this regime. It tells you these are two different.
So those are the benchmarks that you use to have an assessment of.
Absolutely.
But we know how the donor community tend to either have a certain alignment towards one regime or a governance or a government or so. Sometimes towards the end, when they feel the end is
wouldn't have complained that for the past 3 years, budgetary support has not been coming. That happened in 1999, 2000, and then it became better in 2001, 2002, all the way to 2008, and all the way from 2010 level, it dropped.
Well, true.
They see, they know. It's about, we should talk about the problems and provide solutions to it.
Well, point made.
Yes.
Point made. Would you say the economy, based on what, of course, we know what the indicators are, where the economy is driving towards, would you say that for all the accolades and the taps that the Nado-led government seem to be taking, perhaps it's not giving credence to the NDC-led administration? Because if you look at the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana towards the close of the year, yeah, you could find that, for example, in the January briefing, and I went to the Bank of Ghana MPC reports right through even to March, that was in April, you could see that they were more favorable towards a certain tendency of policy initiatives taken over the last 2 quarters in 2016.
Well, speaking to the content of the president's presentation or submission to the media, you see, as a president, when you get such a rare opportunity, you need to be candid to the Ghanaian public.
Well, you can't say that he was untruthful, can you?
He was. He was not being candid to us at all. Well, I would not want to be seen doing politics with his presentation. I would want to commend the president, for instance, for being able to continue with all the macroeconomic stability that we have started recording in the last 2 quarters of 2016. And some of the decisions that we took partly cost us the elections. But that was done for the benefit of our country. And so even if you watch, IMF, World Bank, and Fitch had projected that Ghana was going to do better in 2017, irrespective of which government was going to be in place.
It's a lie.
Oh, I'm sure
we'll continue with the argument.
You could have been more.
It's just an interjection. You have to take it to
word than just a lie. I wouldn't use it on you.
I'm sorry about that.
It's okay, but let's proceed. Right. And so, for instance, monetary policy rate had started declining in the last quarter of 2016. Inflation, check the records, has started declining in the last quarter of 2016. And so, for the current regime to be able to continue with that trend, I think it is a plus. Some tax cuts that they promised in their manifesto have seen the light of day, even though the objective has not been met. And to those extent, I would give them some credit on that. But for instance, when the president says that, Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia says that budget deficit was 9.4 as of December 2016. It's not true. The Minister for Finance, who presented the budget on behalf of the president, had indicated that budget deficits on cash basis was 8.7. For a vice president who is the head of the economic management team to come and tell us that the deficit was 9.4, it's not true. And he wasn't being candid with us. In fact, the president, in answering a question, sought to portray that they were not going to extend our facility with IMF, when indeed government has sought for and has been granted an extension of the facility, the extended credit facility agreement that we have with IMF. President Nana-Addo partly didn't sound very informed about some of the happenings around his own regime. And that is worrying, that even if you cannot diagnose a disease, how do you treat it? He said they were not going to extend our facility with IMF, when indeed your finance minister went to negotiate for an extension, and they were granted. Because the extension, the facility was going to end April 2018. You've gone to ask that they extend it to December 2018, and that has been granted. It is worrying that the head of state would not be informed about his own national economy. Now, Free Senior High School. I got worried. I got extremely worried. We are talking about the lives and the future of our children and siblings. When the president was asked about the implementational strategy or plan for Free Senior High School, you know what he said? Oh, I hear it is so. I hear it is so. He was being speculative. This is the man who chairs cabinet. This is a decision taken by cabinet. And he wasn't informed about the nature of the Free Senior High School, how it would be implemented. In fact, September is just at the corner. In less than 2 months, we will be in September. We need to know. We need to be very certain, because the question that was asked by one gentleman, is it high, from your sister station, GTV, went like the Minister for Education has indicated that there will be a cutoff point for students who want to enjoy the Free Senior High School. The president needed to be instructive. He needed to be assertive and very finite on that matter. He was not. He was being speculative. This is something that you have started since 2008. Thankfully, the Ghanaian people have granted you the right to govern. And you can't tell us what the plan for implementing Free Senior High School would be. It was worrying. On the issue of the independent prosecutor, you see, the president, for God's sake, is a lawyer. In fact, they have sought to make us understand sometimes that he's the best lawyer this country has ever produced. You want to introduce the office of an independent prosecutor. And we in the minority have stated our position very, very clear. When he mentioned that in the State of the Nation address, we made our position very, very clear that we will support any move that would fight official graft and corruption. But we will not allow you to do an illegality in your attempt to fight corruption. Why? Article 88.
But your attempts in Parliament has perhaps come to a knot, or has been foiled.
No, this is just at the initial stages.
Well, know.
I'm sure by the end of day, today or tomorrow, you would hear the position of the minority on some of the key issues that the president raised yesterday. For instance, I'm not a lawyer, but thankfully, our constitution is not written in Swahili. It is written in English. At least I can read and understand. Article 88 falls under Chapter 8. The whole of Chapter 8 is an entrenched chapter. You are told anytime you want to amend an entrenched clause, what to do. This is what they are failing to do. When the Minister for Justice and Attorney General appeared before Appointments Committee, the minority leader cautioned him against that. When the Chief Justice appeared before the Appointments Committee, she was cautioned against that. They think that they have the numbers in Parliament, but trust me, the law is no respecter of numbers. Now, you bring a bill without gazetting it. That's what the law requires. And you think that you can just go, well, it is early days yet. Let's see how it would go. But like I indicated, we are committed to helping this government. You see, they say if you want to, the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating. Why? You want to use the office of an independent prosecutor to fight corruption?
Well, I'm talking about corruption, etc. That's where we watch the president and we take an excerpt from that interaction he had with leading journalists of our country.
When I came to this job, I knew there would be difficulties, and I knew there might be some mistakes. For instance, I wish that voluntary groups within my party, the MPP, who had worked so well with us during the campaign, had not overstepped the mark and had not got into the news for all the wrong reasons. I refer to some of the invincible and Delta forces who got into trouble and gave the party and the government bad publicity. My often stated view, which I have communicated clearly to the law enforcement agencies, is that the best way of dealing with such incidents is to let the law take its course without any political interference. The young men have shown remorse, and the legal process is working. I hope that we all learn the required lessons from these unfortunate incidents. And then there was the horrendous murder of Major Mahama. I trust and pray that the trauma suffered by the whole nation as a result of the incident will cure us of the barbaric practice of mob justice. It is absolutely essential that we leave the prosecution and punishment of suspected criminals to the police and the judiciary. In the 6 months of our being in office, easily the headline subject has been the fight against galamsey. I'm glad that the majority of our compatriots have recognized the danger posed to the existence of our nation by the practice of galamsey. I've said before, since the Almighty has blessed our land with mineral resources, we cannot do without mining, and we have the right to exploit the minerals in our land. But we cannot and should not destroy our lands and water bodies and our environment in the search for gold and other minerals. I'm grateful that the majority of people and you, the media, have lent their support to the campaign against galamsey. I'm hoping that the program to restore the degraded lands will attract the same enthusiasm. For my part, I will not relent in this struggle, nor will the Cabinet Committee headed by that eminent Ghanaian, the Minister for Environment, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, which is spearheading government's efforts in this fight. When the time comes for them to find their area in the form of prosecutions, it's my expectation is that there will not be flimsy cases. There will not be about an attempt to witch hunt members of the last government. I'm not going to lend myself to that exercise. We're going to bring cases, and there will be cases. There's several in the pipeline that I'm aware of, but cases that will make it clear to the courts and also to public opinion that, yes, something wrong took place there, which requires the intervention of the courts. The special prosecutor, when he comes, will help, but there are already instruments for enforcing the criminal law, which are already in place. So it cannot be a question of waiting for the special prosecutor. It's a question of making sure that whatever is brought into the public domain as cases are thoroughly well-researched, well-documented, and that they are strong cases and not just flimsy exercise playing to the gallery.
Default judgment, that default judgment shouldn't have come.
And so that's the president speaking on a varied number of issues there. But as far as we're concerned, the office of the special prosecutor is supposed to make sure that we put things in alignment. As far as also going by the mantra of the president and the party during the election, the issue of corruption has become a bane in our governance system. But at the end of the day, well, the argument is that it's good for posterity, because the term of the special prosecutor will be enclosed in such a way that he's going to have security of tenure and all that. But is that the way to go?
Yes, that is the way to go. And that's the way to go. We have all the laws. We have the Internal Audits Act, the Financial Management Act, we have the Procurement Act. We have all these things that are supposed to have checked us as a society. And now I'm happy powers are going to be given to somebody, either through the Attorney General, because of course he has authority to criminally prosecute, and therefore he or she can vest it to any person so that the Attorney General wants. It will put everybody in check, whether you're a politician, whether you're a civil servant, any public official, wherever you find yourself, there must be some course of action. I'm happy also with the turn of events and the court ruling that says that even the Auditor General can also prosecute. You understand? These are the ways that we are trying to strengthen the institution of institutional governance. We are trying to strengthen it, to leave a good legacy. So I think that it is something that is good for us today and for tomorrow. Except the person who has caused the harm might think that is supposed to be witch-hunted. The president says it over and over. This is not intended for any individual. Mind you, MPP will not be there forever and ever. And so it is strengthening of institutions. You don't need an Obama to come from somewhere to tell you that you don't need strong men, you need strong institutions. How do you make them stronger? In as much as you make all the laws, they are still there. So put some action there. Let them prosecute people.
That serve as a deterrent.
Yes.
I think that's the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
You see, if you listen to this portion where the president was talking about corruption, he admitted that all the allegations of corruption that was leveled against President Mahama and the NDC were pedestrian, and that they had no evidence of any sort. Because he's not talking of his government gathering evidence of corruption against the officials of the former regime. Meanwhile, throughout the campaigns leading to the 2016 general elections, the NDC and President Mahama were labeled corrupt without any evidence. Now in power as a president, you are 6 months into government. You are now telling the Ghanaian public that you are gathering evidence so that you can be able to prosecute.
So why are you explaining them
on what basis? On what basis were all these allegations leveled against the former government officials?
But going to court is different.
No, you see.
My brother.
You see, no. For
what
you to have.
analysis is this?
Oh, I disagree with most of the things you said. But I had time for you.
I hear you.
I'm saying that the President Akufo-Addo, is now saying that his government is gathering evidence of corruption against officials of the former regime. I'm asking, on what basis were all these allegations made against the officials of President Mahama? Beyond that, the Office of the Independent Prosecutor, tell me, what is it that the Office of the Independent Prosecutor can do that the Attorney General cannot do now?
Well,
all that we need is a political will, which you lack.
Okay, but let's get on to the phone lines. We'll speak to Dr. Mwakoba. He's with KNUST. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Now, particularly, what will be your initial impressions about the delivery of the president, particularly when it comes to the subject of a special prosecutor and then corruption, and how he intends to deal with that subject?
Well, before I answer the question, I want to say just a few words about what I was listening to. You see, allegations of corruption is not the same as investigation for prosecution of corruption. When we heard about Tuba Info Solution, GDA, all these things, didn't he hear them? But if you want to prosecute someone for corruption, it's not just allegation. You have to have solid evidence, proof. You see, the two are not the same. And so please, you can't say just because now they are waiting to get the evidence. Why were people criticizing the NDC of being corrupt? We heard all these news. I mean, was he not in Ghana? And so please, let's put that aside. Come to the president's delivery. I think it was very good. It was very good. The only thing is that I think they have to find a way to make the people who are picked to ask questions a bit fair. You see, you can select certain number of people. EIB, maybe you get to multimedia gets to things like that, and then it makes it easier. Sometimes even when you do that, you still have too many people. You can have a system where it's rotational. This time, these ones are going. Next time will be another batch. That way, bit by bit, everybody is represented. If Kumasi people are crying, what would Sunyani and Takrady people say? And of course, it's just simple, too many people. And so maybe they should consider a rotational system where everybody gets to participate. But all in all, it was very good.
Well, I asked a question about the president's delivery on the subject of the special prosecutor and how he intends tackling corruption in his government.
Well, okay. There are two issues here. Of course, the bill is before Parliament, and so it's not really up to the president how it's going to come out. There are two options. If the special prosecutor is to be appointed right now, in many ways it means that office must be an extension of the Attorney General's office. Because if you want to make that office autonomous, it means you need a constitutional instrument. And so let's make him an extension of the Attorney General's office, and in due course put the measures in to have a constitutional amendment to make that office completely independent. But the president's plan is in order because you don't have time. This is an entrenched provision, and so you don't have time to go through all the constitutional processes to do it. But if you put that person in place now, it means that office is a bit removed from the everyday operations of the Attorney General's office, and it's not politicized. And I heard him say that he has no interest in witch hunting or anything like that, and that's how it should be. I've said it before that the way the president has set it up, it means he's holding a sword that both ends cut equally. And so if you are in the president's cabinet, if you are an MPP person and you engage in corruption, then the special prosecutor's office will come after you just as much as it will go after anybody else. And so it was good.
At the end of the day, we know that, at the heart of governance, and also based on the promises that were given by the MPP and the Akufo-Addo-led campaign, which of course has seen a certain transition into forming the executive or government, the underlining well-intentioned, of course, social intervention policies that are expected to roll out, i.e., free SHS, we're expected to have good intention policies for youth employment, etc. Now, when do we see fruition to some of these when we know that that also would have a certain burden on expenditure on the budget, and so we have to do the realignment and then also make room, as in our minds as a people, the government needs to make those provisions also available. Hello, sir. Always seem to have lost. Okay, so you continue with that,
yes.
And then I put
and so you see, Dr. Ban has just confirmed my fears that the office of the independent prosecutor, from the way we are proceeding with the matter now, would be an extension of the office of the Attorney General.
No, he's not said.
Well, he said so.
He said in his view, it should be.
Exactly.
But that's not what government tends to do. Government wants to go to Parliament with a bill, which ultimately would lead to that transition.
You see.
So we have to delineate the issues.
With the current constitutional arrangement, the Attorney General is the only person with prosecutorial powers. If you are establishing the office of the independent prosecutor, from the way they are proceeding with the matter now, he will need an express authority of the Attorney General to prosecute. That would make him accountable and loyal to the Attorney General. That is what we are questioning now. In fact, the better way to go about this matter is to decouple the Attorney General from the Minister of Justice. The Minister of Justice can be the chief legal advisor to the President and the government, and leave the Attorney General, in this case, the independent prosecutor, to deal with matters.
And the Attorney General will be appointed, or in this case, the independent will be appointed by who?
Exactly. The appointing arrangements can be as same as, for instance, the EC chair. The procedures, used in appointing.
Have you seen the drafts of what the bill ultimately will be?
No,
that's my problem. I mean,
no. You'd have your
aren't you preempting
then?
them?
No, my worry, and we have raised this concern a number of times, that from the way we are proceeding with this matter, we are just going to create another office that will be synonymous to the office of Minister of Justice and Attorney General. We want to support that bill, but not in its current form.
Are you going to have a press conference on this subject? Because you have been having many press conferences lately.
Oh, by close of day or tomorrow, I'm not too sure. I cannot preempt the decision of leadership.
All right.
You would hear.
Please wrap up for me. But Dr. Free, no,
I'll get
okay.
back to corruption and borrowing.
No, that's okay. Now let's turn our attention to the subject of. There was a question that was asked by my good friend Bernard Avle, and the Vice President was supposed to have answered. I don't know. The response of the Vice President was concise enough, and I don't know whether we can have that of the Vice President, play that, and then we have some responses before we wrap up. The Vice President responds to the subject of borrowing, and whether we're not racking up the debts, and the explanations that he gave.
Before we go in, we get in there, I was just trying to clarify a point that you made. I was going to tell him that, I mean, that's why we are there. The bill is going to the committee. It's going to come in the second reading, the consideration.
Has the bill been laid already?
I mean, yesterday.
It was the first reading. It happened. Was late?
Yes, yesterday.
So you had a first reading. Okay.
And so you know the procedures involved in laying. All that they do is to read the long title.
That is a long title. The long title is read, so it's late.
Now
the long title
is gone to the committee.
It is gone to the. It is gone to the debate will come. It will come to
we
debate.
know what the proceedings are. Dr. Free.
It was acknowledged.
Do you have a copy on your table?
That is why the Attorney General stood up to down. It is accepted.
Exactly.
So it's late.
No, we've gone through the formality. So Dr. Free,
you don't have a copy.
You say
officially.
Oh no, but it doesn't mean it's not late. It's
so
late.
if you ask me whether I have read it or not,
you've answered that.
All right, thank you very much.
Now I asked a question about if you think the Vice President was convincing enough with his responses to a question by Bernard Avle of City FM about.
Are you going to play it now?
If we get a Vice President, we'll play. But I think that it's you can respond to if we have the Vice President. Do we have the Vice President?
Yes, that would be clear so that our listeners should be able to.
No,
so
we'll have a clarity.
Yes, yes, it's very important.
But,
very important.
But did you listen to it? Did you watch that aspect?
Just say no if
I
you
did.
listen.
I did. Why? What's the problem?
Why? I did. Did you watch it? Did you listen to it?
I did, but can you let us watch?
Okay, we don't seem to have the audio.
So that me and my audience will be in the same wavelength.
We don't have the Vice President on debts. Yeah. You have something on debts? I don't know.
What did he say?
And you said you listened to him.
What did he say?
No, we don't seem to have
not being candid at all.
Well,
you're not being candid
what did he say?
No,
really, I can't. I did
you
watch
can,
the whole program.
Okay.
I can't recall it. But if you can, no, you don't go to him. I've not spoken actually.
You
can leave me.
You give a perspective about what the Vice President said. Yeah. Your response to that.
So did you watch it yourself over there?
I did.
Okay, what was it?
Yeah, and from what I say, you can pick your nose from that.
No, I will not take it from you. I'm watching TV.
You see,
let me see it.
The question. In fact, two questions.
In between yesterday, we were in committee meeting.
No, that's okay.
So I know
that's
at the point I
you're forgiven. You're
forgiven. Be clear with that.
You are taking a cue from your president. You are forgiven.
That's point one for the NDC man. Okay, now, please go on.
Now, two questions made by day. That one of Bernard Avle and Kwesi Pratt. Now, speaking to the issue of
Kwesi Pratt on the Morocco side.
Yes, exactly.
It's okay. We're not dealing with that. We're dealing with the data.
With the Bernard Avle question, he asked why the government was on some borrowing spree after they had bought the Mahaman government for borrowing, excessive borrowing, and claimed that we had the resources in here and that Ghana was blessed with resources that we didn't need to go out to borrow. That was the campaign mantra of the NPP, that there was no need to borrow at the levels that we were doing. In fact, throughout the 8-year tenure of the NDC, we borrowed less than 40 billion Ghana cedis, both local and international borrowings. With just 6 months of President Akufo-Addo,
14 billion USD.
Oh, I say 40 billion Ghana cedis. I have not quoted USD. I'm telling you that for the 8 years, from 2009 up to 2016, we never borrowed up to 40 billion.
From 22 to 140.
Oh, you didn't listen to the vice president. I listened, so let me speak from that. You can pick a news from that.
I'll read the transcript.
I'm not going to comment on this.
No.
If I don't watch it, because
I'll read the transcript for you.
Yes.
It's there. Okay, please go on.
Within just 6 months, the government that claimed that they had the men and that we had the resources here, you have gone to borrow a little over 40 billion within 6 months. That brings a question to our debt sustainability. And that was the question that Bernard Avler raised. Unfortunately, the vice president went off gear talking about deficits. Deficits are entirely different from the quantum of debt. Entirely different. And so he got it very, very wrong. In fact, the vice president answered that after the time they took power, the race of governance, the debt to GDP level was 72%, and that it was their ambition to bring it to 70 to 71% at the end of December. When indeed the quantum, the GDP of this country would have increased. In fact, the only place where he corrected Bernard Avler was the GDP of our economy. Now, I think Bernard Avler quoted around 80 billion Ghana cedis, and he said it's around, when I checked 200. Last night, it was not up to 200 billion, around 190 billion. And so the vice president said it was close to 200 billion. And so you must be apologizing to the Ghanaian public that all the accusations you leveled against us that were engaged in reckless borrowing and that were engaged in excessive borrowing is unfair.
Your point is that. Okay,
and
so
this
is it. Good afternoon. My name is Bernard Avler. I work at City FM as a president. I remember during the campaign, yourself and the vice president expressed worry about the level of debt that Ghana was incurring. And among other things, you said that because of the mismanagement we were having to borrow, and then we have enough internal resources and therefore we should block the loopholes. Permit me to give you some figures. In March this year, we went for 1 billion Ghana CD 3-year bond. In April, a $2.25 billion bond, which translates into 10.25 billion Ghana cedis. In the same month, we announced a 2.4 billion Ghana dollar bond to clear legacy debts, which translates into 12 billion Ghana cedis. Last week, we were told there's going to be 17.4 billion Ghana cedis bond being sought for T3. Putting all the figures together, that's about 40 billion in all, 40 billion Ghana cedis. The last time I checked, our debt was okay. Where are the internal resources? How much resources have you generated internally? Why are we still borrowing this much? Thank you. And then the vice president responded like this. Thank you, Bernard. Bernard asked a question about the debt and how it appears to be increasing. And I think we have to go back a little. And this is the vice president. You saw that last year, the deficit was 9.4% of GDP. That's where it ended. And thanks to the Asempa budget, we've gone back on the path of fiscal consolidation to bring back the deficit this year to 6.5% of GDP. Now, in doing so, you are going to be bringing down the debt stock in the process. I will also let you know that in the last 4 years, between 2012 and 2016, the debt stock went up from 45% of GDP to 72% of GDP. That means, and according to the vice president, on the average, every year the government was adding up 6.75% of GDP to the debt stock. That's each year between 2012 and 2016. Now, the GDP is not 80 billion, Bernard, as you quoted, but closer to 200 billion Ghana cedis. And we are going to end the year after inheriting about 72% of GDP, hoping to bring down the debt levels to between 70 and 71% of GDP. So we're looking at how we manage the finances to bring down the debt burden. So even if you're borrowing, the burden of that debt, we're trying to bring down through the process of fiscal consolidation. The Minister of Finance is here. He's keeping all of us in line. What happened before with this unbridled borrowing? You find out that we owe so many contractors who have not been paid and so on. Today, the gift-made system is really working. It is not possible to circumvent it. And so if there's no money, you are not going to be entering into that contract in the first place. And so this is actually helping us, as you see, very much on target as far as our deficit is concerned. For example, through the first half of the year, and I think this is also seen in the domestic money market, where you have seen interest rates coming down from 22% last year, and just a year later you have 11.9%. So, I mean, basically that's
yes, but how else would you want this to be explained? As an economic policy person, the concept of deficit is an indicator of how much loans can be available free up for you to pick. So if you have high deficit, definitely you are starved from money for infrastructure development. So he used that analysis to show you that if you're able to clamp down deficit from about 9.4% to about 6%.
Correct yourself, it's not 9.4. Huh? Go and check your budget. The budget that Kelly brought. I'm just crazy. It's not 9, it's 8.7.
Please
from 9.4% to 6 point something. It tells you that you have a free space to be able to pick up some loans. In any case, me as a person and Dr. Bahumia, we have always made it clear. I made it clear consistently on AFAC platform and myself that loans is not bad. I even said it on your station Joy. I said loans is not bad. But why you don't have visible investment, capital investment for loans? I have a problem with you. How do you finance it? That is the essence of capital investment. Tomorrow's people are going to pay for it. I can't see it. How do I pay for it? There's no value for money. We don't say loans are bad. I said it consistently for the past 2 years. You can Google me, and I still stand by it. It's value for money for the Ghanaian. So when he said deficit brought down, he's telling you that there's free up space to take money, but they are going to use it to retire legacy debt. The mess that was caused by the previous regime without value for money. You go and take a married deal. Market rate could have been better. Alternative tender, you didn't go for it. You go for a very high one, clause and enclaves, and we are going to pay for $500 million. It's a shame. It's a pity on us, and we are happy about it. You don't want us to pay for it? We are going to search. That is the essence of the office of the special prosecutor. We are supposed to retire the mess of the last regime. Regardless, it is a trap. If you don't retire them, how do you move on? You trap us. So if you don't go for loans, how do you move on?
So you know you.
And so you are not going to be entrapped by
you don't think the import of Bernard's question was saying
it was clear, but Alhaji told him that because you've been able to bring deficit down, there is a space to borrow.
Well, we understand the economics.
And now he's saying that there are a lot of contractors who are in the space.
Dr. Free.
Yes.
We understand the economics of it and the politics of it.
Yes.
But the point is that on the campaign platform, the rhetoric was that, well, these gentlemen and ladies who had formed this government, who are currently in state, are borrowing excessively. And we have internal resources that could be marshaled. We also have policies, if well implemented, could make sure that there's no seepage or wastage.
Yes.
As a result of that, those liquidity, that liquidity that is
bauxite deposit alone in this country is about 360 billion.
The capital that is hovering around, going to people's coffers, being embezzled, could be mopped up to shore up.
Yes.
Now, well, 6 months down the line, you haven't strengthened all that. It means that there's still seepage, and so you're leaving the wastage. You're not mopping up that cash you said was supposed to be there internally,
right,
and you're going outside. That was the import of the question.
Okay, but absolutely, that's the essence of what he said.
He was answering the economics of it. We do understand what the economics of it.
Yes, but I think
you make sure that you retire. You re-engineer, you create more space, you go and borrow, and then you can do more things
and then you move on. And then after, you are going to, we are blessed with our resources.
That one was being about the previous government, what he said.
Yes, we are blessed with our resources. And then also the loopholes, you have to plug them. You have Rose Minister 2 days ago, on Wednesday, saying that there are a lot of contractors paid the whole sort of mobilization and no job done. Some people don't even forge certificates and they are paid. A lot of wastage. So we are synchronizing the system to a common platform so that some of these repetitive acts does not go on. And then we are going to tap within our resources. That's why we should leave the IMFs alone. You have a lot of resources. Put yourself in order. The Ghanaian attitude must change.
Aren't you contradicting yourself?
No, at all.
Okay.
Leadership with exampleship. Okay. And Ado has said it often than not, that we are blessed with our resources. It's the right attitude, right leadership. You need to go to IMF.
And by close of the year, you would have racked up about 40 billion Ghana cedis of debt already.
Yes, because
already we have 122 billion.
Absolutely.
And you're racking
but like I'm saying that,
yes, sir.
If you want to rack up, what you do is that you have to manage very well.
I do understand the economics of it.
So therefore, we are in line. So you are in line.
No, but you criticize that sort of...
Because we were not seeing value for money.
Right.
That's a difference.
How would you respond to it?
I would advise my friend, Dr. Afriye.
What he's saying is not wrong.
No, I'm just coming to advise him not to repeat some of the blatant lies that were churned out.
Which
like
what?
What?
About the...
I have told you.
Now he's said a debate. So once he puts my name in, it's going to be a debate, and you should allow that.
I have told you.
All right.
That per the budget that was presented to Parliament by your own finance minister, Mr. Kenoforiata, the budget deficit on cash basis was 8.7 and not 9.4.
Who can cross-check from the bank and the statistical service?
No, I'm referring you to your own budget. I have a copy in my car.
We can cross-check.
You have a copy of the budget.
Even
so I would advise
economic
you,
calculations of GDP and deficits, we have various formulas and it estimates. So what you are saying to any rational economist who knows that it's a flaw.
Are you telling me that in March, the deficit was 8.7 as of December and now has gone to 9.4? I'm just telling you not to repeat some of the blatant lies that were churned out. Be candid. Beyond that, you see, we are talking of value for money.
And there was none in your regime.
What is the value? What have we seen?
Total corruption.
What have we seen?
A merry deal. Total mess. You brought my name in the debate.
I have gone beyond that.
So I thought this last 5 minutes is just a free...
We are talking of value for money, and that you couldn't see anything for all the borrowings that we did. You couldn't see the hospitals that were springing up. The Atuabu gas project, you didn't say it. Let's assume that is true, that we borrow those money, share those money amongst ourselves, and spend them.
And defend and merit you.
That is okay. That's okay. What can we see so far for all the taxes that you have collected and over the 40 billion that you have borrowed? Point to one thing in this country.
It has retired the debt, the mess you caused.
Your own
brother. Debt. It's retired your own debt.
The debt is rising. If you have retired those debts, it wouldn't be rising. And let me tell you,
it's a pain to me when I don't have value for money, and my children will pay for those debts.
I allowed you to speak. Please allow me to speak.
You brought my name in.
I have gone past beyond that stage.
You brought my brother.
I was only advising you to be truthful.
Dr. Free.
I'm also asking you, what can the Ghanaian public see as a result of the over 40 billion Ghana cedis that you have gone to borrow?
We pay the
what
debts.
Can the Ghanaian see for all the taxes that you have collected?
Back to my point.
I'm telling you, the vice president must understand that he's not more on a campaign trail. What has the debt level got to do with gift mix? These are two different things.
Yes, but it is a solution to the problem.
These are two different things. And even in your submission, in the submission of the vice president yesterday, they said they had brought down the deficit. You haven't. Your projection is to bring it down to 7.5. In fact, Fitch had warned that you can't achieve it.
7.
And that, you projected 6.5 at the end of year. And Fitch said you can only do 7.5. Even that one, you haven't achieved it as we speak. And so, that's why I'm saying that when you get a platform to speak to the electorate, you need to be candid. Now, value for money, I've just asked you, and you haven't been able to tell me one single thing that we can see for the over 40 billion. You say you retired our debts.
They're just 6 months into the administration.
Let me just give you an example.
The 10.7
if you tell me that they are just 6 months into office, and so we cannot see
the
any visible
billion
project, yet we can see a 40 billion borrowing. What has the money gone to? But let me give you a very clear example of your mismanagement. No, my brother, take it easy. Let me tell you a very clear example of your mismanagement. You told us that you were going to borrow, you borrowed 2.25 billion US dollars.
Yes, 10.7 billion Ghana cedis to retire your debt.
You see, the documents that the finance minister produced to Parliament, courtesy our minority leader, through the our motion, we wanted to know the proceeds, what the proceeds were used for. About 1.1 billion was used to finance the budget. Meanwhile, we were told all along that the entire amount, take it easy, that the entire amount was used to reprofile our debt.
To retire your debt.
When the documents came,
wrap up.
He admitted that yes, some portion was about 4.4 was used to retire debt, but 1.1 billion was used to finance the budget.
All right.
And yet you tell us that the debt
enough the two of you. Enough the two of you.
Majority was your debt. And you said that there was some 600 million left, which could be a support for the budget.
Enough.
You are training your own economic figures. I'm worried about the use of figures like you.
That's okay. The two of you. The subject on the economy and what the president said. That's
okay.
I hear in Parliament, your offices got bent. Or what was it?
To do some apologies.
I hear in Parliament, your offices.
We are not going to that topic. He used figures and then he massaged them.
I'm saying that the president should have been humble enough.
I heard in your offices got bent in Parliament.
For the insecurity that is currently ongoing. The lawlessness that the Delta forces and the invisible forces have visited on us as Ghanaians. But the fiscal attack on ACP.
I'm saying that we are using 40 billion to retire your debts, and then we are going to move forward by 4 years.
The lawlessness. Boss, we are talking of corruption.
4 years.
Boss is a very clear example.
By 4 years.
Boss,
you see,
it's a very clear
brought
example.
Another mess in there.
Boss,
there is a habit, but
a test.
For the past under President Mills.
You failed the test.
Under President Mills.
You failed the test.
Under President Mills.
Alfred Obi is there.
They did not see contamination in 2010.
All right, my time is
2011. 2012. Now, from 2014, 2015, 2016,
the
it has become a trade.
Asokori Member of Parliament is Dr. Nana Ayew Efriye. Thanks for joining me, sir.
Thank you.
Your office is not bent, is it?
It's not. Actually started from the NDC side, but whatever.
And Abdul Aziz. Abdul Aziz, the Member of Parliament from Lyon.
You missed him.
Oh, that's